Hey, welcome back to another tutorial. This time I'm going to build a very simple turret. It's not going to kill you, it's not going to do any damage, it's not going to look cool, it's just going to be a very basic turret, just to show you how I could do it, or how I would do it, should I say, using a couple of components. No actually logics in this tutorial, but it should give you an idea of sort of how to think about things and how to do these tasks. They do come up. Let's get started. So we're going to go into Smooth POV and I'll show you what we're going to build. Ignore the cubes floating around in the world. Those are just cubes from a previous tutorial. I need to check this checkbox, which is, there we go. Not sure why that didn't check before. Maybe I was inside a collider. So here's my little turret. You can see that it is pointing its laser directly at my face. In-game, this is a little bit more direct than you'll be seeing on the camera because of offsets and things like that. It's aiming directly at me though, so if I go around here, you'll see it's following me. So we're going to go ahead and build that. I'm just going to uncheck this checkbox so the old one disappears, though, as it's quite annoying having a laser shining in your face when you're building a turret. So let's get started. We're going to need a dev tooltip and a logics tooltip. On the dev tooltip, we're going to create a cone. A cone is just a really easy model to sort of see where something's pointing, because there's a nice tip, and you can see where it's pointing. So what we're going to do here is we're going to inspect this. The first thing we're going to do is go ahead and make a parent object above that. So we click this up arrow. The reason we're doing this is because we want to separate what the visual of the turret looks like from its actual functional part. This is a common tactic that you'll see throughout various things such as the tools or the flashlight, etc. Things like that inside NEOS always do this. They have a visual, which basically means you can control what things look like, and then a functional part, which is like how things function. The reason we're doing this is because we want to apply an offset to the visual of the cone, but we don't want to worry about the offset when we're doing sort of rotational maths at all. So we only apply the offset to the visual here. So what we want to do is basically make this cone point at us. And so to do that, I know I need to do looks like Z negative 90. So negative 90 on the Z. There we go. Now on the parent here, which is the parent of the cone, we can go ahead and attach the component we need for the rotational value. And that's going to be attach component, transform drivers, AutoLookAtUser. Now you'll see that's going to rotate away, and that's fine. That just means that we need to adjust our offset. And this is what I mean about the visual and the functional part of it. So here you'll see that we're not rotating correctly, and that the Z is pointing directly at us. To change that up, we can go ahead and just move that negative 90 over to a different axis. Oops. Should be X by memory. Looks like it's not X either. Let's reset the rotation, see what happens. It is X90, X negative 90, there we go. Alright, we just had some rotational issues there, so play around with it till you get the cone looking at you. Now, trust me, this cone is looking at me. I know it looks a bit weird, or it looks like a sphere. That's just the nature of a cone. You could change that up if you wanted to by playing around with how the cone works. So if I do flat shading here, you can see it more looks like a cone. I'm actually going to leave it on flat shading for the rest of the tutorial. I'm going to go back to the cone parent and we'll talk about the AutoLookAtUser, as I know I just kind of added it without talking about it, and that's because I wanted to get the cone facing me directly. You'll notice though that like if I walk around anywhere, it's going to point directly at me. If I jump, it'll point up at me, etc. That's all being done by the AutoLookAtUser. What AutoLookAtUser will do is it will target the closest user and just point at them really. You can see here that the AutoLookAtUser has a retarget distance. This is basically the distance at which it will start looking for a new user. So if I walk away and then another user comes within 0.5 units of this cone, then it will retarget another user. The lerp speed here is how fast it rotates. I'm going to leave that on 4, but you could also set it up. Actually, let's go ahead and just set up a little bit, because then you'll see it kind of rotates really quickly. Everything else here is to do more with sort of if you want to change sort of how it's rotating. I didn't want to mess with those in this tutorial, so I'm leaving those as they are. But the cone here will be where we're storing that offset as the visual of the model. So now we've got a little cone looking at us. We need the laser to come out of it if this is a laser turret. So what we're going to do here is on the cone itself, and the reason we're doing it on the cone is because it's part of the visual. We're going to go ahead and create a child slot. So that's the star here. That's going to make cone child. We're also going to name stuff here, just so that we know where things are and we don't get confused. So the top one here is the turret, and then we've got the cone, and then here we're going to have the laser. Now the laser can use a component we've covered before, but I will mention it again, and we'll go over it again a little bit. It's called the RayDriver. Check my video description for a tutorial on the RayDriver. So we'll go down to RayDriver. Now RayDriver takes a distance, which we're leaving at maximum right now, an origin, and a direction. The direction right now that we want is X. We can see that because we can see the blue arrow, which is Z, and we can see the X arrow, which is red. So we want the direction to be the Y arrow, which is green, because we can't see that arrow. And then we are done setting that component up for now. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a mesh that will be what the visual representation of the laser looks like. And for that, we're going to need the slot mesh. No, sorry, not the slot mesh, the segment mesh. I get this confused because there are two that are very similarly named down here, slot segment mesh and segment mesh. We want segment mesh here. For segment mesh, you'll see that there is a point A property and a point B property. Grab point A and drop it in point A of the RayDriver. Grab point B and drop it in point B of the RayDriver. You'll see those values are now going crazy. That's fine. We'll deal with them just a second. We now need a mesh renderer, which is what's going to render the mesh that we've got here. So we're going to go to Attach Components, Rendering Mesh Renderer, and then we go ahead and drag mesh render, segment mesh into the mesh renderer, and we're done. We'll set up a material in just a second. I want to get it actually displaying though. To do that though, first of all, we're going to have to disable the AutoLookAtUser just for a second, and that means we can go around to the side of it. And you'll see that the laser isn't rendering right now, and that's because cone colliders are a bit inaccurate. So the RayDriver is actually hitting the cone. To fix this, we need to move the origin point. You can do this using the origin property of the RayDriver, or you could just move it around visually, which I actually prefer doing. So we're going to move it quite a way in front of the cone and then deselect. And now you'll see that we've got our checkerboard ray coming out of the turret. Let's change things up here a bit and make this laser look like a laser. So we're going to go to Create New Materials, and then I'm going to go PBS and then Rim Metallic, because Rim Metallic has a nice effect. You'll see already that there's a nice sort of red rim on it, but I want the core of the material to be red, and then the rim color, I want that to be kind of glowy a little bit. That looks good. I'm going to grab this sphere, go to the Mesh Renderer, hit Materials, hit Add, and there you go, got a nice laser beam. We could on what that needs to look like for more time, but we'll just leave it as it is. And then the final remaining thing that we have to do is turn back on the AutoLookAtUser, and there we go. My turret now spins round and fires a laser directly at me. That's it for this tutorial. I encourage you to take a look at this setup, build it yourself and play around with it. Try, playing with the distances, playing with the materials, playing with the width of the laser, the speed of the turret, etc. Try figuring out how to make the laser beam turn off until it's looking directly at your head. That'll be an interesting challenge. And let me know what you think. This is just an example of how to put components together entirely in-game quickly and get something cool. This is going to chase me now and always shine a laser in my face. That's it. If you have any questions, please let me know. Otherwise, I will see you next time. Bye-bye.